4th of July is a great holiday for our country. It's, to me, about togetherness.
4th of July is just, a time to, I feel like, celebrate with your friends and family, especially around the racetrack.
America, 1776, we are the champs.
And usually some grilling and enjoying hopefully a beautiful day outside.
The grandstands always get a little bit more red, white, and blue.
Nothing's better than motorsports on the 4th of July, let alone NASCAR.
And we're going to enjoy it from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Road America, as the NASCAR Cup Series gets ready to qualify for today's race. You see the fans already picking out their spots on the grass, camping all the way around this beautiful 4-mile road course. Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with you, and Marty Snyder and Parker Kligerman will be taking care of everything on pit road today. And Steve, from a crew chief standpoint, we're getting ready to qualify. Yesterday, 55 minutes of time on the track. What did you learn there and put in your car to be ready for today's race and this qualifying session?
Well, I learned that Road America is no joke. It's a 2-lane highway appearing track that kind of weaves through the hillsides here in Wisconsin. And Junior, a lot of risk versus reward. There's a lot of places to make up time. The kink in the backstretch looks like there's a lot of time to be gained, but huge risk if you have an off. So as a crew chief, I'm asking my driver, listen, man, we need a good starting spot, but please bring me this car home in one piece. We only have a few hours to the race. I'd really like to race this car.
Yeah, these guys only got a limited amount of practice. Some of them probably still pretty unfamiliar on how hard they can push the car in certain areas of the track. You certainly don't want to slip. We've seen some guys do that, especially through the kink, but you got to maximize time. You want a good qualifying spot because you have that opportunity in that first stage and going forward to get those points that are going to be really important as we close in on the playoffs.
Yeah, one thing we saw in the Xfinity race is if you do start in the back, you expose yourself to potential danger, getting in wrecks, ending your day. So qualifying and track position do matter. So it is risk versus reward, as you talked about, Steve, but you need a good qualifying session. So the only way to get that as a driver is to push. So somebody may push too far and regret that, but it's the only way to make lap time.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned the Xfinity Series. They've been coming here for now 12 years. But as far as the Cup Series, maybe a little unfamiliar with this road course. So iRacing has helped us out. We want to take a look at this racetrack. It's just over 4 miles, 14 different turns, elevation changes, things like the carousel, the kink, Canada Corner, all synonymous with Road America. But there are a few areas around this racetrack that are very important these drivers have to figure out.
Turn 1. Turn 1 comes off the longest straightaway in NASCAR. Great opportunity to pass. But we saw some incidents because it's such a great opportunity. Everybody trying to take advantage of it. Get into turn 1, very tight corner. Leads to turn 2 and 3, Junior.
Coming out of turn 3, down another long straightaway into the most difficult braking zone, turn 5 down this hill. A lot of cars sliding the rear tires, locking up the front tires, up into turn 6.
At turn 6, uphill, blind left-hand corner. Look, you can't see the corner until you get there. Really easy to overshoot that corner. The carousel looks like Watkins Glen, the long carousel, Watkins Glen. Nothing like it, though. Flat, longer, no grip, very difficult corner.
And then they haul into the kink. Another difficult corner. We see so much action here. Guys getting off, making mistakes. Big, big crashes into turn 12.
Turn 12. Once again, Canada Corner. And then all the way leads to 14. And 14 is so important because it leads to that long front stretch we talked about. Very challenging racetrack.
And you have Austin Cindric, who will be strapping in for another Cup Series start for him. Maybe one of the best road course racers that will be in the field as far as experience on this racetrack.
Well, it's going to take experience. We already saw in practice how difficult this track can be, and perhaps the damage you can receive, not even really hitting a wall. Right here, we're going to see Ryan Preece go off, driver's left out of the carousel. Look at the damage to the nose of that car. The 78 gets around and in the gravel. This was the trouble part, though, the kink. Somehow, Brad Keselowski with the pirouette not hitting anything on either side, and then even the curbs. We talk about damage to race cars. It doesn't have to be fenders. You could break suspension here.
This, I think, was the biggest one, a backup car for Kyle Busch going through the kink.
because of that accident and this backup car, the 18 of Kyle Busch, regardless of his qualifying effort here, will start from the rear of the field. The same for Ryan Preece.
It was really interesting listening to Kyle Busch talk about that wreck, and this is how difficult that kink is. He saw that wreck happen in front of him, and he de-accelerated, but he didn't brake. Like, he just thought he was going to slow down, kind of take assessment, and he didn't brake, and he got in there too deep, and then he was in trouble. That's how difficult that corner is, Marty.
And yes, Kyle Busch will start at the back of the field no matter what yet, Jeff. And yes, that kink has been difficult for everybody this weekend, including a champion like Kyle Busch, who's going to climb in his car right now. So because they're in a backup car and they know they have to start at the back of the field, they're really just going to roll around, make sure the backup car is ready, everything in the engine is tight. So almost more like an installation lap like you would see in IndyCar from Kyle Busch. And also trying to save as much time as they can on the tires. Now, these Cup Series teams can change tires from qualifying to the race. You'll see a lot of people put stickers on for the beginning of the race, but they'll save this set for the end of the race. So that's why Kyle Busch is not really going to do a hard lap here in qualifying, knowing they have to start at the back. The other little nuance to this is that right now we're 3.5 hours to the green flag for the race. So if you have an issue and if you have to go to a backup car, that's going to be a problem for a race team, especially if it happens late in qualifying, as we see Christopher Bell, winner at Daytona on the road course earlier this year, on the track right now. If you wreck, Steve, late in this qualifying session, there's a legitimate shot. If you have to go to a backup car, you might not make the green flag for this race. So that is a big concern with race teams right now.
You might not make the green flag, and even if you do, Rick, you're not going to have the time that you would prefer to spend on a car to make sure it's, you know, exactly how you want it. And don't fool yourself right here. This is a long ways from up to speed.
So these guys are going to take it real easy around this racetrack. It's 4-mile track, so they don't want to eat into the tires or take any of the good grip out of the tire. They'll coast around all the way till probably the kink, start really putting pressure into that car in those last few corners to get heat up in the tire, and then come by and get that green flag. So that's why you see those guys kind of taking it easy.
It's 2 rounds, group qualifying. The first round will be 25 minutes. If you are a part of the top 12, you will advance. The rest of the field is set 13 through 40 in that first round. And then, of course, the final round will be to determine positions 1 through 12. That's where you can win the pole. A few more cars getting up to speed here. And a reminder, because of the location of where the start-finish line is, it would make it impossible for drivers to be able to get to pit road immediately after their qualifying lap. They'd have to go another 4 miles to get there. So, as Steve has just shown,
big improvement from last week, Rick.
Yeah, that is that's the start-finish line for qualifying. So if they take the start there, go around turn 14, up the hill, all the way around, and then as soon as their lap is done, they can head right onto pit road.
And that line is right in the area of a braking zone for the final turn of the racetrack in turn 14, so it'll be important as they're coming to take the checkered and trip that line to be full throttle, committed, even if you might overrun this final corner, because that doesn't matter, the lap is over.
Christopher Bell on track.
Thought this would be a good weekend for Christopher, who has had a difficult season. Expected maybe a little bit more performance or consistency out of this team, and I know he's got the talent. Had a great win at Daytona road course that Marty mentioned, and had some speed in practice, so look for good things today out of Christopher.
He won an Xfinity race here. We're going to ride a whole lap with him to kind of show everybody the racetrack. This is that turn 5, downhill, heavy left-hander. Now he starts to climb up the hill into turn 6, another strong left-hander. You cannot see the corner till you get there, very blind. A little bit of a straight into a tight right-hander, 7. Try to carry as much throttle as you can. Again, another straightaway with a, more than probably 120-degree turn. Very sharp corner. Now to this long, flat, slick carousel. Just tires screaming for more grip.
Jeff, they use so much brake here that even in qualifying, as I walked pit road this morning, they had a little bit of grill opening even to cool the brakes in qualifying. So you're talking a lot of braking. I mean, tape is your friend for overall speed, but they have to cool the brakes even for just one hard lap.
I was surprised to learn they even used the brakes in the kink. I thought that was a lift, maybe off throttle back to the gas corner, but actually used a little bit of brake to slow the car down for the entry there.
Hey, Junior, I was going to ask Steve, you have 4 sets to play with today if you're a crew chief, and if you make more than one run here, that, adding just a couple laps, that's 8 miles if you do 2 laps, right? So that is a significant difference if you're going to use this set of tires later in the race. A lot of teams are planning on making this their last set that they might put on today. So you really only have 1 extra set to play with. Would you want to make a second run if you're, Rudy Fugle and William Byron here, if you're not in the top 12, or just say, you know what, we'll stay where we're at, save those laps on the tires?
Yeah, I would not run again. We haven't seen anybody really go faster a second time out once they learn the track. They went faster yesterday, Dale, to start a practice. But once these guys know the racetrack, unless you really make a mistake, I would save it. You mentioned, Marty, 4 sets of stickers, but this set of scuffs right here, Junior, I can use in the race. That gives me a 5th set for the race.
And we're hearing from teams that the fall off from 1 lap to 2 is anywhere from a half second to a second. William Byron goes to a 2:11.83. That is an awesome lap. 2:13.84 was fast in practice yesterday with Kurt Busch. So 2 full seconds quicker on the clock for William Byron.
I think Christopher Bell was feeling pretty good about his lap at a 2:12.9. William Byron beat that by a second.
Was the key word in that statement you just made.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Well, when you lay the first lap time down, you're always like, how is that? Well, now he knows. Not good enough.
No.
Ryan Blaney had decent speed yesterday in practice, and
Brad Keselowski, we saw him pirouette in practice yesterday through the kink.
I always enjoy this now that we have the time comparison on the bottom right, because you can see where William did such a great time, right? Because Brad's time down there, almost 0.4 of a second slower, is comparing to Byron. So 0.4 of a second through the last corner, just the front stretch.
Remember, William Byron sat on the pole with the Roval, so knows how to get speed in these road courses.
Oh, traffic.
yeah, I remember William led a lot of laps at Sonoma. Ended up their strategy worked out to where they lost a lot of track position at the end of the race, but did well in the first 2 stages. So William might be somebody a little bit of a sleeper today.
How about DiBenedetto right now? In the green compared to that Byron, and then back into the red, but hovering right around that number.
Brad had a moment there getting in the corner.
You're going to never run, I don't think, a perfect lap around here. There's going to be those moments. I'm sure Byron had some things happen in his lap that he'd probably like to do over again. So when you're out there as a driver and you do have that mistake, maybe in turn 5 or in the first mile of a 4-mile course, you got to stay committed, stay after it, try to make the best of the rest of the lap, not run too hard. Look at these guys trying to stay out of the way here, giving Blaney a little bit of an obstacle course here.
DiBenedetto.
Oh,
somebody in his braking zone.
That is not good.
That hurts.
Yeah, and I'm hearing everyone talk about they want to get through the carousel, Junior, and on the exit of the carousel, that's where they'll start to go hard. But you see what it does to someone who's at an at-speed lap. It just totally kills their lap.
Yeah, if you're off pace or just trying to get around, either the Truex sliding around there, being in that braking zone in the racing line is kind of a no-no. So I'm sure Blaney will speak to Briscoe about that.
Martin Truex Jr., we saw him earlier in the green, but now a half a second off. Down through Canada corner.
Truex has not had the pace so far this weekend that we expected him to. Such a good road racer. Was 19th fastest in practice.
So a half a
lap
second
right here, though.
Yeah, half a second off, but he is the second fastest on the course.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, I mean, no damage other than the dirt. Here's the 48 of Bowman as well.
No. Yeah, both those guys kind of get away with minimal damage. We got a car stopped on the racetrack here, the 78.
Yeah, Kyle Tilley We saw him have an issue yesterday and now stopped on the track.
And so anybody in the middle of their lap, what does this do?
Yeah, this is frustrating right here. If you're someone out there on a hot lap, on a flyer, Bowman, Busher, Briscoe.
Are you able to finish the lap?
Well, NASCAR's kept it green, perhaps for that reason, encouraging other people to not start their lap. It looks like that car was out of the way, trying to, holy traffic, my goodness. Denny Hamlin going to try to maneuver this traffic. And now the red's out.
The red comes out now.
Oh, man, that is going to be a big point of trouble. I believe the 9 was on a hot lap. I believe the 11 was on a hot lap. Kurt Busch was on the racetrack.
And why that matters is this surface, you know, you've talked about it, Junior. It looks a lot like Rockingham, Darlington, worn out surface. And any laps on your tires just take speed out of them. So now these guys are going to have to go back out on tires that have some life taken off of them, have some heat in them, and that is going to be a disadvantage.
And let's find out what's happening with the 22. Marty.
Well, a moment ago, he said on the radio, we have a very bad vibration, almost like I have a flat spot. I don't know that he necessarily did flat spot the tires, but he said he has a pretty bad vibration in the 22, and we're seeing a number of drivers, Brad Keselowski climbing out. The other thing, a number of drivers have not even gone on the racetrack. We only had 18 take a time thus far, and that clock's ticking quick, 14 minutes, and with a car stalled on the track. I don't know if you would have a greater sense of urgency, Steve, if your driver hadn't climbed in yet or not.
Well, I would be concerned. I think, though, if you're Logano sitting 7th, probably Keselowski in 11th is in trouble, but Logano in 7th, this red is actually an advantage for you guys just because all those other guys, Jeff, you know, that were on the track, you mentioned the disadvantage on tires. Well, now this might be what keeps the 22 inside the top 12.
Kurt Busch hasn't gone yet. Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin was on a lap but didn't complete it. AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch. You know, a lot of drivers that could push Keselowski out of the top 12.
Yeah, there's about 20 cars on the track when that red flag came out. And look at them just going as slow as they can go. Keep from damaging those tires.
Parker Kligerman tells us about the details and uniqueness of Road America.
Road America is an over 4-mile blast through the Wisconsin countryside. Within there is 167 feet of elevation change. And one of the best examples of that is here into turn 5, where the drivers will approach this corner at over 185 miles per hour and then slow down to first gear and 40 miles per hour. All the while descending 100 feet, making this one of the longest brake zones in all of NASCAR. As the drivers descend through the lap, they'll enter one of the most famous corners in all of racing, the kink, a third gear over 100 mile per hour game of chicken between the driver and a wall. This will propel them to the lowest point of the track. It takes 12 corners to get to the lowest point on this racetrack, but only 2, and this massive hill on the front straightaway to climb the 167 feet back to the top and finish the lap.
A lot of difficult areas around this racetrack, as we have seen from the drivers either getting off track or, you know, locking up brakes.
Well, the surface is rather old, and I think drivers probably prefer it, but there's a lot of waves and content in the braking zones of many of these corners, which creates opportunities, unfortunately, for wheel hop in the rear of the car or locking up the brakes. There's multiple different types of asphalt and surface. Some of these corners have newer asphalt. Some of these corners don't. And so that's kind of tricky. That throws a challenge in there. That little seam between the new and the old is also going to create an opportunity to lock up brakes or wheel hop into those corners. And some of these corners you're turning as you're braking. That's always a difficult thing to do, and another opportunity to have a lockup in a flat spot. So a lot of downhill braking, just so challenging. A lot of fun when you get it right.
I want to take a look at the playoff standings as we are now 19 races into the season. Only 7 remaining in the regular season before the playoffs get underway. 11 drivers have won their way into the playoffs. leaving 5 spots still available. Denny Hamlin continues to be the points leader, a very consistent year, but has not found victory lane up to this point.
Yeah, when I look, I mean, a lot of the big stars are in yellow, but there are some very talented road course racers back behind 11th. You know, I think Hamlin or Harvick wouldn't shake it up very much, but could a Kurt Busch win? I know he's currently in, but if he wins and moves that line up more, the points battle into Daytona at the end of the regular season is going to be intense.
And look at Austin Dillon there in 14th. This is exactly why Austin Dillon spent his offseason and a lot of this season working on his road racing skill. He's got 91 points to the good, but he's got guys behind him that are good road racers. And if you're not a good road racer, it's a place you can lose a ton of points. So it's exactly why Austin Dillon has spent so much time working on being a better road racer. Ran the Trans Am race yesterday. Done a lot of stuff to try to get better.
So the red flag is out right now because of the stalled car for Kyle Tilley. That 33-year-old from Bath, England, has only run one other race this year, and that was Coda, where he finished 31st. The green flag has come back out. We see Kyle Larson, hottest driver in NASCAR right now, making his way onto the track.
So on the left-hand side, you see the red line. Top 12 advance to the next round. So Truex, as Junior mentioned, hadn't shown a ton of pace this weekend, but has run a nice lap, although it's 0.6 of a second slower than Byron's. It's second of everybody that has currently run. Larson, I think, was thinking he was going to get a little clear track, but some guys are pulling in front of him. I think Byron, Truex, Matty D, Bowman, they got to feel pretty good about their laps. I'm not sure about the rest. I mean, there's still a lot of cars to run.
Yeah, Matty D's lap was pretty strong. He ran four Xfinity races here in his past, and remember, he got blocked right there. It probably cost him 0.4 of a second.
You know, I wouldn't say Kyle Larson is a road course ringer or a road course expert, but I think Kyle Larson can win anywhere. He proved it at Sonoma. He's proved it at the Ovals. He's proved it on dirt. His combination of skill, confidence, and the car he's sitting in has been a great mixture for this 5 car this year. So even though he doesn't have a long history here at Road America, I'm still not sure how you judge what his performance could be later today. It wouldn't shock me if he runs 10th. It wouldn't shock me if he won the race.
Well, the way it works out with guys that have raced here and had experience here in the Xfinity Series, the guys that run the Trans Am races here, their experience on this track is going to shine through in their laps they run in practice. They're going to be up on the board ahead of some guys that we traditionally think as the favorites for these races. But as we watch the race today, watch that gap diminish as Kyle Larson learns the ins and outs of this racetrack. He'll be out there along with several other guys that don't have a ton of laps here, learning throughout the entire race, improving all the way to the finish. And so I think that you'll see that, that cream rise to the top.
One thing we've seen from Larson in the past, until this year, was that at road courses, he could lay a lap time down. He could qualify. He could go 7 or 8 laps and be just crazy fast, and then the wheels would fall off, and he would lose tons of time. This year, he's had both. He's had speed as well as longevity. Marty.
Jeff, I think Junior's point's a terrific one. We're going to literally see drivers learn this racetrack as this race goes along. They're not going to go to Pocono and certainly learn a lot about that track, but they will learn Road America today. Hey, I want to give you one reason to pull for Josh Bilicki today. You see a sponsor, the Screamin' Sicilian. It's a pizza company here in Wisconsin. If Josh wins the race today, I know you're all buying in on this, it's free pizza for everyone in Wisconsin today. So I think, that's a good reason for Josh to win the race, right? We all get free pizza out of the deal. I think that all sounds good to me.
Well, of course that sounds good. Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, Josh Bilicki. The way he even was able to get a ride, interesting story. Facebook messaged a team that had to be determined beside where their driver was supposed to be. He messages that team. They said, okay, you're our guy. And the next thing you know, he's racing in NASCAR.
Here's a driver that I think that has been able to highlight his experience here, highlight the time that he's spent racing on the road courses in Trans Am and so forth throughout the last year. Tyler Reddick. He's been fast this weekend in practice. Looks like he's on a decent lap right here.
Reddick just a couple tenths off of what William Byron turned for a lap. And we're
Larson.
seeing, Larson in the green.
And Larson's trending well.
Lost a little of that through the corner he just went through.
Yeah, he's having a little issue somewhere. Reddick, though, and it's, you kind of want to believe, man, this guy's got the pace. Can he keep it the whole race, though, as these other guys start to figure this place out? Will it get more difficult for him? Marty.
Yeah, bouncing between third, fourth, and fifth fastest for Tyler Reddick. And I love his drive to learn more. And right before he climbed into the car, he was getting all the information he could from Austin Cindric. Of course, Austin Cindric running the Cup race today, and he was in the Xfinity Series race yesterday and clearly had the best car in that race. Reddick had his helmet on, and he was kind of keeping Austin from getting in the car, just trying to soak up all the information that he could before he climbed in for this qualifying session. And it may have worked. Look at that second fastest so far.
See if he can hang on to that.
Daniel Suarez is running a great lap right on top of the pole, coming into the final few corners through the kink. Good speed in this 99 here on qualifying. Right ahead of him, there you see A.J. Allmendinger, who is also on a great lap.
Suarez using all the racetrack.
We expect this out of Allmendinger to be battling for the pole, but Suarez losing a little bit of time here, had a few moments there, gaining some of it back now.
Daniel Suarez is a part of the big news that took place this week between Trackhouse Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing. Justin Marks called up Chip Ganassi about a month ago and said, hey, I got a wild idea, but here's my vision. Chip Ganassi loved the story and said, okay, I'm going to do it. And Trackhouse Racing has purchased Chip Ganassi Racing at the end of the year.
That's a big deal. How about A.J. Allmendinger? Good run yesterday, following it up right now on the pole. Currently,
top 12. Remember, top 12 advance to where you determine the pole. So they'll all have to run again, those in the top 12, to determine who wins the pole.
Yeah, Marty talked about Tyler Reddick trying to get all the information out of this guy right here. He could. Well, there you go. That's why an 2:11:30. I mean, we talked about Byron's lap being so good. He beat that by 0.7 of a second. I mean, Austin Cindric, listen.
He has the pace.
Yes.
Yes, but can he put the whole race together?
Yes, he can.
There's a long one. This is unlike the Xfinity Series.
I don't
10-lap stages. Xfinity Series is like, you're done.
But he has tons of experience in other forms of motorsports that run long races. So this race is not too long for him. He can connect the dots.
Are you talking about those 24-hour races he runs in?
I'm debating.
Because those are awful long.
I'm debating whether to put him in my fantasy lineup, so I'm just seeing if I can get more good information.
If I were you, I wouldn't.
Don't do it, Junior. Don't do it. Which means he's in my lineup.
Junior's winning right now in the league, so anything we can deter you from gaining more points would be great. But Cindric, what a lap. I mean, that's incredible. A.J. Allmendinger also put together a great lap. But again, a reminder, the top 12 will run again. So that's not the pole run that we saw out of Austin Cindric. He's going to have to either duplicate that or try to be the best of the 12 if he wants to win the pole here.
And you've got some really good drivers that are let to go. You got Chase Elliott. You got Denny Hamlin. Chase Briscoe was really fast yesterday. Now, granted, they were all on the racetrack, right? They had a little bit of wear on their tires. Not bad, maybe. It just depends on how hard they were running. Austin Dillon had good pace yesterday. So this top 12 is not completely locked in right now.
What a big day for racing, and we heard it from the drivers earlier. You know, the 4th of July and racing hand in hand in motorsports. Of course, IndyCar Series will be racing from Mid-Ohio. That's going to start at noon Eastern, so just about a half an hour from now. And then our Cup Series countdown to green at 2 o'clock. And racing from Road America. It's been 65 years since the Cup Series has run a race at this track. And these drivers are ready to get out there and put on a great show. Seeing Bubba Wallace working his way around the track now, getting ready for his lap.
Bubba's got some experience here. 2 top 10s in both of his Xfinity starts here.
Now we're going to compare to 12 because, as you mentioned, Rick, while that lap from Cindric, very impressive, the only goal in this first round is top 12. So we'll see if Bubba Wallace can find a little pace to try to bump Christopher Bell out of the top 12.
It's turn 1. You drive just as far into the corner as you can. You see the car moving around under heavy braking. Find your point. Go to the throttle as quickly as you can. Accelerate off. Just got to push everything to the limit.
As we saw from Parker, this downhill right here, speeds upwards of 180 miles an hour before they're on the brakes hard to do the left-hander. Marty.
Rick, this team got their first ever top 5 at Pocono last week. You could see Bubba and how relieved and excited he was after the race. And talking to him about Road America, he said, actually, I'm looking forward to it. By far, road courses have been my worst discipline in NASCAR. But before the Sonoma race, I spent some time with Chris Cook, who's a noted teacher of this discipline, road racing. And he said it finally kind of all clicked for me. We finished 16th. Wasn't a great finish, but for me, it was a big accomplishment. And I can honestly say, first time in my career, I'm looking forward to a road course this weekend. He's qualified and probably not where he wants, but I'm not sure if you ever had that moment, Jeff, in your career where you saw it all kind of clicked at a road course.
Marty's had a moment here, and this is a bad moment.
Something sounded in those 2 downshifts. I'm not sure if he broke a transmission or a motor, but they were very abrupt. Sounded like maybe even an over rev, but a mechanical issue for the 23. As soon as we heard those downshifts out of the gas, I think it was coming to the left-hander turn 8.
Yeah, so speak to the challenge of this. I mean, I know we don't know the problem yet, but let's just, I hate to assume, but let's say he's got to change the engine.
Let's take a listen.
How do you
right
do
here.
this?
Just listen in.
It sounded like to me, I don't know, it sounded like a transmission rear end something, but who knows?
Experienced and can change an engine, it takes hours, not minutes.
Yeah, and they don't know exactly what it is, Steve. I was trying to listen in on the radio as we were doing that little report on him taking the left road and figure it out. But this goes back to that conversation we had earlier. Green flag coming up quick, so a lot of work ahead for 2311 Racing.
So the concern now, Jeff, to your point, is now you have to diagnose it and say it is a transmission or a gear. Was there any damage to the engine, right? Did the RPM get so high that, hey, there's nothing broken in the engine yet, but will we see a valve spring or something break later? Poor Denny Hamlin is like, can I just finish my lap? This will be the second time the cautions came out, and he's trending well inside the top 12.
He co-owns the team that is now stopped on the racetrack that might end his lap.
Well, I
if the
give
caution comes
NASCAR
out.
credit, though. They're holding the yellow at the moment. This is part of group qualifying. You have to use a little bit of...
There he is.
It's in a pretty safe area right there, though.
Very visible, so everybody knows that car's sitting there.
Yeah, I would be completely.
Will
Hoffman missed that corner. I would be comfortable with them holding this caution where he's sitting.
Potentially 2 minutes, because that's how much left of round 1.
Your temps, shut it down, take care of your temps.
Well, if you were leaving pit road, you wouldn't even come back and get the green in time. So, this place is huge.
There's the red flag, so that's going to stop the clock. And Chase Briscoe has to be disappointed.
Oh, and he was on a runner. He was on a flyer, too. He had an opportunity to get himself in the top 12.
Well, with a minute 54, he's done.
I know.
There's no way he can get
2
back.
minutes and 10 seconds under speed, so there's no way he's going to be able to get the green flag.
Man, that feels somewhat unfair to
I am with you on
Briscoe.
That was a little rough.
Since they let other drivers finish their laps.
Well, and honestly, Bubba could have found a better place to get off the racetrack as well.
Or maybe he couldn't.
Yeah, he coasted
he coasted as far as he could, potentially.
Yeah, there's drivers left out of the carousel. There's a whole area over there. He could have turned left.
I think there were some opportunities, but at the same token, you're not worried. You're thinking about what's wrong with this thing. We got to race in a few minutes. Your focus isn't, I got to help everybody else.
And I'm telling you to get it back here because the race is coming.
That's a great point.
Post this thing back here so I can figure it out.
Yeah, in some way, the best thing you could do is get a red flag so he could get it back to you as quick as you can.
So unfortunate, obviously, for Chase Briscoe, who was on his lap And the clock has stopped. Again, 1:54 to go, but Bubba Wallace with an issue. Well, I saw Buzz McKim there talking to you guys, NASCAR's historian.
Man, this is a lot of fun making that show. Looking forward to getting another season out, letting people see it, getting the feedback from them, and seeing what we can do going forward. Marty.
Well, this is interesting, Junior. You see the clock and the red flag top left of your screen. So the red flag out means the clock stops with 1:54 left. Alan Gustafson sitting in 36 with Chase Elliott. I don't think many people expected that. So they are going to desperately make a run from the end of pit road. They have to make it to the alternate start-finish line before it hits double zeros there on the clock. We'll see if they can make it. That's a long run, Steve, but they think they can make it and get one lap in with Chase Elliott. And I don't think Alan Gustafson is thinking, hey, we're going to make the top 12, have a shot at the pole. I just think he doesn't want to start 36, right? He just wants to get somewhere much further forward than where he is right now.
Yeah, somewhere up inside the top 25. I'll give Jeff Burton credit. I was thinking he had no chance, and then you pointed out the alternate start-finish line over here at the right. So basically Chase has to leave here and go all the way around and make it to here, which is going to be a saving. You know, it's a little bit shorter than the start-finish line, but we'll see.
Still going to be close, whether he can make it or not.
It'll be tight. He's going to wear his tires out a little bit trying to get there, but we'll be back for it when the green comes back out. The course is green. The problem is the racetrack is 4 miles long, and Chase Elliott's doing his best to try to get around. He's in the carousel now, but he only has 33 seconds to get back to that start-finish line.
Well, that's why I drew it in, because it's not the start-finish line at the front stretch. Alternative start-finish line for qualifying is down there between turn 13 and 14. That's not an exact location.
I think he's going to fall just a little short of getting there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to slow down so much for Canada corner.
It was close, though.
Yeah, 10 seconds, and he's got a long way to go.
So that is the, we talk about strategies and all this thing. That's the problem with waiting in practice to go. You get caught.
All right, time expired here. Time's up. Bring it back, please.
He tried.
Just that.
Not enough time. So unfortunate for not only Chase Elliott, how about Briscoe? I mean, Briscoe's another one who was on a flyer when the red flag came out, and he won't have a good lap. He's 35th right now.
Hey, but look at it on the other side. Chris Buescher's like, heck yeah, that worked out. There's always a winner and always a loser.
And you hear the frustration, and just so the fans understand, the 9 was caught by both cautions. They were on track when the 78 caution came out, so they didn't wait until 5 minutes to go. So now, hold on a minute. They tried to go about mid-session, got caught by a yellow, then went back on the racetrack and got caught by a second yellow. So they, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, with these time sessions on road courses, I just say you got to roll early. How many times have we seen people get caught? I agree with you, Steve. What was it? Truex's team a couple years ago waited till like 5 minutes to go at Watkins Glen and got caught. That wasn't this case. This was halfway through the session and got caught 2 times.
Well, this is the worst track for him. It's the longest lap time. That's the toughest track. We saw practice. I mean, it was hard to get laps in practice. Yeah. So now remember that, right? Now you have 12 cars, so it's going to be a little bit cleaner. But if you have one big off or bad timing or
and on top of that, he's got more laps on his tires than almost everybody in the field.
Yeah, well, he gets to put stickers on to start.
I know, but that set of tires will be sitting in the pits if he needs them. If he needs them, and he's got tons of heat cycles on those tires.
That's a great point. Well, there's going to be a lot of excitement to watch at the green flag because he's not going to be back there long, Rick.
We know that drivers like Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott will all work their way from the back. We still have to determine a pole winner, though. NASCAR Drive, that's your live race day companion. You can follow your favorite drivers with high-definition in-car cameras. All you have to do, visit NASCAR.com/drive, or you can download that NASCAR mobile app today. Look at the fans enjoying beautiful weather. A little bit warmer here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, than it normally is. The temperatures are going to be pushing the upper 80s and celebrating the 4th of July at a racetrack.
Sorry, Rick, I got to go.
There might be contests going on out there, Steve, that you could partake in. One of the things about Road America, since its construction back in the mid-50s, was this racetrack has not changed. And to show you that, we're bringing in Roger Penske when he was on the track in 1964, and he talks us through a lap.
Going up the long straightaway by the pits now. I'm probably traveling 175 miles an hour. As I enter turn 1, I downshift, and I go through turn 1 in third gear, feathering the accelerator as I go through. I then wind up in third gear, downshift into second, and go through turn 3. This is going on to the back straightaway. I shift from second to third, then from third to fourth as I go under the bridge. This is a downhill left-hand turn through the woods. I downshift into third and then into second gear. I go through this turn approximately 15 miles an hour and then accelerate up under the Corvette bridge. I then take a left. This is a normal 90-degree left turn. Then I go up into the hurry down. This is a fast right and a downhill turn before entering the carousel. I go through these corners in third gear. I now downshift into second before entering the carousel. This is a long right-hand bend. As I come out of the carousel, there's a little area, a few bumps. I now enter Friedman Corners. This is a flat-out turn at about 120 miles an hour. I go back through the winding turn through the woods at approximately 140 miles an hour. I go down from fourth into third, then into second gear. This is turn 12, a tight right turn winding up under the bridge. I go up under the bridge at Thunderbelly, wind up to turn 1, where I hit the main straightaway past the pits. I will come through this corner in second gear. I wind to 6,000.
And that was a lap as told to you by Roger Penske back in 1964, and it sounded as though he could have said it yesterday because he sounds exactly the same.
It's amazing, and he sounds the same. And the place, other than like the tree line, the actual circuit looks just like what we're seeing.
Exactly, yeah. So amazing. Okay, now, first round is done of qualifying. The big news, obviously, is drivers like Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott. They were caught on the racetrack in a caution situation, and so those two drivers, among others, weren't able to get out there and post probably their best lap, and so they're going to start way deep in the field.
Yeah, so it's simple. It's timed qualifying. There is an amount of time in the session. The track goes green. You leave pit road. You have to take the green flag during the time of the session for that lap to count. The 9 was on the racetrack. A caution came out for the 78. He comes back to pit road, cools the car down, time elapses, he goes back out, another caution. Well, then basically what happens is there's less than 2 minutes left on the clock. Why are you sitting on pit road? Well, this place is 4 miles. It takes 2 minutes to come around and even take a green flag, so he was unable to get an at-speed lap in the books. And for that reason, Marty, unfortunately for Chase Elliott, he's going to start deep in the field.
Yeah, well explained, Steve, of the rough qualifying session for this 9 team. Boy, you couldn't buy a break, could you? As you're sitting there at the end of pit road, you had a minute 54. Did you think you could make it to the alternate start-finish line and get in a lap?
No, we just, yesterday in practice, we had a couple incidents, and NASCAR added a little bit of time. So our only hope was that they would add, a little bit of time to let the guys at the pit road make it back around, which that's a gamble, and, I don't expect them to do that. And but you also have to be prepared in that situation. So just one of those situations where I don't know what you really do about it. Just go on down the road and hope the race is better and hope our car is where it needs to be. Most importantly, I feel like if our car drives like it needs to and I can do a good job behind the wheel, I feel like we can still have a shot at it today. So that's the most important thing is hoping we make the right changes on our Napa Chevy and we'll go to work later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do there. Just take it on the chin and try again.
Boy, starting 34th, though, this is a narrow place. How does that change the game plan? I mean, because everyone coming to a road course probably thought, well, you're going to be the favorite.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I feel like I've struggled this weekend just trying to find a rhythm. It's been a little while since I've been up here, and we've been slowly making gains and just myself, like I said, trying to find that rhythm in the track. That's an important thing at these places. So I'm still searching for what I need behind the wheel, and we did make some changes overnight, and hopefully both of those things combined and making improvements, we can be good enough to have a shot. So we'll go to work and long race. I do think it's going to be a pretty wild race. It's very easy to make mistakes here. The track's very narrow, so I need to try to be smart and hopefully move forward at the right time.
Hey, Rick, for what it's worth, in the 2 kind of quarter laps that Chase got or half laps he got, he said the car did feel much better than it felt yesterday for him. But there you go, a guy admitting who's so good at road courses, I'm still trying to figure this place out.
Yeah, more time on the course in a Cup car, which none of these drivers have ever had a Cup car here until this weekend.
And I agree with Junior's analysis that, you know, guys like Chase are only going to improve as the race goes, right? The guys with more laps look quicker now, but Chase is a great race car driver, and he'll figure this out. Larson put a decent lap down compared to everybody else. I thought Cindric would have more pace after that first session.
Larson only lost 1/10 of a second from what he ran his first time out on tires. I'd say that's pretty good.
So you ask yourself, did Larson purposely leave a little bit of life in the tire? You know, did they think they could make it through the top 12?
He just said on the radio, Steve, I felt like I nailed that lap much better than I did the one in round 1. So there you go. He felt like he performed better.
Matty B with a good lap, 3rd.
William Byron here, a quarter of a second up, heading into the kink. Just a few more corners to try to make this right. He could get the pole from his teammate.
Right now, Larson has the fastest time. Cindric, Matt DiBenedetto there in 3rd. Ross Chastain 4th. Truex Jr.
He gave up a little on the entry to 12, but had a great exit up the hill here. Just a couple more corners.
Oh, boy.
He's got it, I think.
How hard does he go? Look at that.
That's your lap.
Nice work.
About 2:12 flat for William Byron, and he's the fastest. Still to go, Allmendinger, Hamlin, Reddick, and Suarez all on the clock right now.
Let's not overlook Ross Chastain in 5th. That's a really good lap. They're on a little bit of a roll. That team's starting to find themselves, running well.
So Allmendinger goes back out, just like in round 1. Suarez is behind him. I wonder if that's by design. I always like to have a rabbit in front of me for qualifying at road courses, especially a good one like A.J. Allmendinger, somebody to give you reference on braking. Even at that distance, you can see the nose drop on that car in front of you and where he's using the brakes, how far into the corner he's using the brakes.
Allmendinger in the green.
They're sort of just taking the green flag. 4 miles to go, but so far so good.
A lot of opportunity to make mistakes. You heard Chase Elliott say he thinks this race is going to be really wild. That's because this track is so big with so many different corners.
Look at the difference that just getting out of the turn 14 up that hill, that really matters. Suarez 2/10 off of Allmendinger just in that short little stretch.
And that is the only negative to that using a rabbit. If he starts getting away from you, you completely lose your confidence. You're like,
you lose confidence?
I can't do it.
Yeah, you start piling up the mistakes.
Yes. I can tell we've had similar experiences.
Right in front of you, you know your lap's not good enough because he's leaving you.
It's bad when they say, go follow that guy, and you can't do it. Like, there's no way I can keep up with that guy.
Colleague Racing is going to be full-time Cup racing in 2022. And A.J. Allmendinger said he's going to stay full-time Xfinity Series racing, but he will do
Stroking right now. It's looking cool right now. I don't know. We'll see. He gets through the slow portions like crazy, dude.
Yeah, this is on another channel, the team talking amongst themselves.
And I agree with their analysis that he got into 5 deep.
Well, this is what Chris is banking on. Chris Rice, we heard him talking, sound like Brett Griffith. And this is the part of the racetrack where Chris is saying he gets through this slow section really well. Let's see if he can take advantage of it as he leaves the carousel going through, getting ready to approach the kink. Then he gets into that area where Chris believes he can capitalize.
0.3 of a second off. Reddick's in the green. He won the pole at Coda earlier this year. Allmendinger 0.4 of a second off now.
All right, here we go.
Suarez a second and a half off. Just lost too much time for Allmendinger as we see Reddick in the green, hovering right around it. Hamlin was right in the same boat.
Reddick's completed almost 2/3 of his lap as he heads down through the kink and into turn 12 here. Still in good shape with an opportunity to maybe upset these Hendrick cars for the pole. Down into 12. Man, so aggressive. Oh.
0.3 of a second. 0.4, he overdrove it.
Oh, is he going to lose it? How much will he lose? Oh, too much.
William Byron tapped one of his crew members. He said, yep.
He pushed hard into 12. Yeah.
That's Tyler Reddick. That's what he's going to do. It's just driving style.
Whoa! Whoa. And around he went. That was coming through 14, which you guys had said you can go through it faster.
He qualified 4th.
And
spun out crossing the line.
It spins coming through 14. Hamlin 0.2 of a second off.
They're not going to like those tires if they got to put them on.
Pace. Keep it there.
The award for the deepest into Canada corner.
Hard there as he went across the line, and then just a little too hot. Spun around, finished his way into pit road.
If you're at a racetrack and you want to watch somebody that's going to be action filled, just keep your eye on that car right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he is going to push the limits.
No surprise that William Byron has won the pole. His last pole was at the Charlotte Roval, so now 2 poles from road courses. Marty?
Yeah, but listening to his radio yesterday at the beginning of practice, I don't think I would have